Atmosphere. You know, it's one of the aspects of a game that I remember the most. I think it just leaves a long-lasting impression for any game. Don't get me wrong, a game simply being tight and fun to play could do the same, of course, but when a title has you stuck in thought after a play session or even after finishing it, your mind starts getting lost and wandering around thinking about the tones or moods you felt throughout the experience. It could be a very powerful feeling. And the usual factors that influence an atmosphere in a game are aspects related to visuals, sound design, and storytelling. But what I want to emphasize is that when one of these aspects are accentuated, and especially when all of them are brought to the same level as each other, it can create an unforgettable atmosphere. Now, when it comes to storytelling, it's normally the driving force that establishes the overall narrative, of course, and the setting. They're the events that occur, the time and place, or the social and cultural surroundings of the game. And these factors can have a direct influence on the atmosphere. But games have a variety of ways to convey these aspects. A good amount of them have a straightforward approach with cutscenes or an abundance of dialogue. Other games may just have context, sprinkles of dialogue, and info from different sources, so it's up to you to piece it together. Then there's some games that just give you the presentation and gameplay to connect the dots. Either way, there are things to consider depending on the approach that's used. What's the character writing and dialogue like? It can feel vulnerable or heartwarming. What kind of story is being told? Is it dark or adventurous? How's the setting described and shown to you? Is it done through a detailed intro, characters, or just through viewing the environment? But the main concern is whether these aspects and approaches allow me to feel distinct tones or moods, like tension, charm, awe, and whatever else you can think of. Another factor is, do these tones shift or deepen as well? And the effectiveness of these things also depend on the execution of other factors, like visuals and sound design. When it comes to visuals, one of the main things I value is art direction, the main style or portrayal of subjects in a game. And this is things like the object, environmental, and character designs, along with something like color and lighting. And here's the thing, a game can be hand-drawn, use pixel art, or be something incredibly low poly, but a solid art direction will fuel a game's atmosphere. Look at Silent Hill back on PS1. It looks extremely dated by today's standards, but most people who have played the game can still feel a distinct atmosphere or set of tones either way. For example, the town is so thick with fog that it's almost suffocating, while it's mostly void of people, sparking this feeling of desolation and intrigue, while specific interior locations are dismal, dark, and confined, giving a feeling of anxiety and isolation. And guess what? This was done without high polygon counts, 4K textures, crazy post-processing effects, and so on. Games of today with their high-end visuals can still do the same job, of course, but I'm just saying that a focus outside of high graphical fidelity can still be efficient. It's all a matter of execution. And outside of visuals, sound design plays a big part as well, in terms of ambient sounds, voice acting, and music. When it comes to sounds and ambience, I don't know about anyone else, but when I played Dark Souls for the first time, the sound of a lit bonfire gave a feeling of pure relief and refuge. I can just sit there soaking in the sound for a while. Or just the overall white noise of locations do a great job of establishing a setting too, like the bitter cold of Ariandel in Dark Souls 3, or the natural serenity of the Darkroot Gardens back in the first. Voice acting is important as well. It gives a sense of distinction and tone to not only the characters within a game, but the world itself. Voices can give a tone of godly elegance and softness.
Thou hast journeyed far, and overcome much, chosen undead. Come hither, child.
Or they can be manic and deranged, characterizing specific themes within the game.
Oh, you again. I hope you've brought plenty of souls.
But music is by far the most powerful factor for me. Music tracks can just capture my mind and have it wander endlessly, feeling all sorts of emotions. Music is capable of not just surfacing the gameplay of a title, but also giving it tone and character. Still using Dark Souls, the menu theme is one of my favorite tracks ever in a game. It gave me all sorts of feelings like grace, peace, wonder, and solitude. It's one of the most soothing yet unusual tracks I could hear before being cast out into a world of hollowness and intrigue. And that's the thing, the track's tone felt shifted or contrasting in comparison to the game itself when I first played it. It just left a permanent mark on my mind. And that's the thing, when aspects like the narrative, setting, art direction, and sound design are emphasized and executed well, they stir up a memorable mood or atmosphere that leaves a lasting impression on your mind for years to come. Like I said before, fun gameplay can do the same, but for me, a strong atmosphere is the factor that keeps me thinking about a title and loving it. Anyhow, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Peace.